Alright, I took a few things apart here. I took the shocks off. Also, I don't know if you noticed too, I got the bike jacked up. It's on a block of wood here, so the back tire was just barely off. But anyways, I took the back shocks off. Of course, I pulled the axle, which is right here. When you get the nut off the back side, I found it's easier to put the socket on this side and kind of put it a little bit of a bind and you unscrew it. It'll help it come out of there. It doesn't really have to be unscrewed, but it's just kind of tight. On this side, let me get the camera up here. But I got the brake off. It's just 2 bolts. Take the brake off, and then kind of wiggle a little bit, push that piston a little bit, slide it off. It's also a good time to check your brake pads. I noticed mine are really thin, so I'm going to pick up a set of brake pads. Same thing, 2 bolts, took the shock off. You got your castle nut and your cotter key to hold that on. I pulled the cotter key, of course, take the nut off. That nut is kind of big. I don't have metric wrenches that big, but 1 1/16 seems to fit real well. You go to take it off, 1 1/16 on this side, and I think it's like 17 millimeters or something on the other side, which is the same size nut as yeah, 17, which is that size. It's also the same size for your shocks. These 4 bolts are 14, and let me show you what I found. I started loosening this. I got the 2 bolts off the back. I started loosening this. Make sure you can get that. You can see that. Let's see if we figure out how to. There we go. We'll get it nice and close so you can see what's going on here. As I start loosening the nut, well, that's not doing it now, but the oil was running out the bottom side. So, is that gear lube or is that engine oil? It smells like gear lube. Gear lube kind of stinks a little bit. It smells like gear lube. And there's a bunch of it on the table here. It dripped out the bottom. So that's giving me a sign that probably that seal's gone out in there. So, let's take those nuts off the rest of the way and see where we're at. And I'll show you how that comes off of there. If you had your back wheel up for you, it's a good idea to jack the back of the bike up. I tried putting the back wheel on one time and doing it kind of half-assed, and I got this whole gearbox in a bind. It's a good idea to make sure it's locked in real good to the wheel, because it just sits in there once the axle's out. Hope everybody's doing good during this pandemic, whatever they call it. I'm still working, which is a good thing. I'm off today, but we're down here in Tennessee. Everything's good around here. I don't know if anybody's got it, but I guess we all need to be careful. This is a good time to take care of your bike, other than getting parts. So now we're going to roll this back wheel back. You can see it. Okay, now that's coming apart too, which is good because there's an O-ring in there, and that's where that seal is. I didn't really mean for that to come out. Let's lift the swing arm up just a little bit. There you go, see how I get that? There it is. There's a spring on the end there. Grab that, just lift it off. See where we're at on the camera here, if you can see what I'm doing. There you go. So I'm suspecting this seal, now this oil shouldn't be in here. Got oil dripping out of there. There's your gear. And there's a seal. There's a bearing right in there. Now, I'm not an expert at this, and I haven't read the manual on it, but I'm sure it's like a pinion on a car. I'm going to have to take this nut off, this spring off. You can see they kind of peened it over to secure it. It's going to be a good idea, just from experience working on cars, is to take a little prick punch and mark the nut and mark the shaft, because I'm not sure if there's crush washers in there, like on a car, but we want to put it back to the same spot where it was, and we tighten that nut back off. So we're going to have to uncrimp that, peen that over. I'll probably clamp this with some blocks of wood and a vise and use an impact to run that off. But like I said, I'm going to use a prick punch and just put a little dot on both the shaft and the nut, and we're going to try to put it back exactly where it's at. Once that's off, that nut's off, I believe this gear comes off here that splines into your drive shaft, and we should be able to pull this out and replace our seal. There's a little shim. Put that upside. So that's where we're at. I know it's either shimmed or crush washers. Regardless, we'll just mark it and we'll put it back to the exact same spot. Look at our gears. You're looking at your wear pattern. You want to see it shiny, you know, probably 1/4 of an inch to the width. You don't want to see it just in one spot. You don't want to see any nicks, any chips. You don't want to see it just wearing in one area. That's a good even wear, so that means that these gears are lined up properly. I've worked on cars, and if you don't get them right, it won't be shiny the whole thing. It'll just be rubbing up, working off here or down there, or it won't be deep enough. So it's shimmed correctly. I got about 60,000 miles in this bike, and actually they look excellent. So I guess I'm going to take this apart. We'll get back to, oh, look at this. Could that be part of what happened? I don't know where this O-ring came from, so I'm going to do a little quick research on this and find out what's up with this O-ring. I'm going to look at the parts breakdown schematic and find out where this O-ring just came from. But the seal, I can see the seal down in there, and I can actually see the number on it. It's an NOK brand, and it's an AC 1593F, I think. Now, a lot of people don't realize this, but a lot of times you can order seals from a bearings and drive distributor and not have to pay Kawasaki. You can just order them by number. You may even be able to order them from the auto parts store. Well, I see the other part of that O-ring down in there. So that's something I'm going to have to find out about, and I'm going to get back to the next part of this video and we'll find out what's going on with that. All right. See you in a little bit.